Hi, welcome back to the Weekly Why. This week we have Parsha Ki Tisa. So we're coming up closer to the end of the book of Shemot, or book of Exodus. And this week it's a fairly long Parsha. One of the key ideas in it is the sin of the golden calf. This is a very famous story, and just to recap those who aren't familiar, what happens is Moses goes up to the top of the mountain to speak with God, and he's gone for 40 days. And in his absence, the Jewish people create a golden calf. And he comes down. God tells Moses what's happening. He goes down, smashes it, turns it to dust, combines it with water and makes the Jewish people drink it. So it's a real, he gives them a strong rebuking there. And this question certainly, this whole episode seems very strange. We just had this giant revelation, Mount Sinai. The entire Jewish people met God, saw God. Can you imagine what kind of an event that would be, right? Where you literally see God in that way. You don't see, but you literally feel, experience God and have that kind of a revelation. And then only a short time later, you all of a sudden simply forget God exists, or you don't believe in God, and then all of a sudden you make an idol. So the whole thing seems very, very strange. And certainly the traditional Jewish view of this, and it's certainly borne out in the any fair reading of the text, is that the Jewish people were not creating a deity who they believed were a replacement for God. Rather, the text makes it quite clear that they created this golden calf as a replacement for Moses. They said, where's Moses? He's been far too long. Where's he gone, and where is he coming back? And so clearly, I think it makes it quite clear, and there's certainly more discussions on that the replacement was for Moses, not for God. And so that perhaps explains a little bit as to why it wasn't idolatry, and why it would seem so strange that the Jewish people, soon after meeting God, they created such a thing. But there's more deeper questions in this. The question still remains is that if God revealed himself on Mount Sinai to you, if he brought you out of Egypt, you know that he's made a certain investment in you, as we discussed last week. So why would all of a sudden the Jewish people think that God suddenly gave up on the Jewish people with Moses? Again, that seems equally strange, right? If God has done all these incredible miracles, the 10 plagues, splitting of the Red Sea, protecting you in the desert, food literally falling from heaven, and all of a sudden, because you think Moses is a little bit late, all of a sudden God's forgotten you again. It seems very illogical. And so I think, though, we can talk about idolatry here. It wasn't idolatry in the sense that they believed this to be God, even though they do use the word Elohim to describe it. Again, the word Elohim can refer to idols. Even Moses in the 7th chapter of Shemot is called an Elohim. So it's not necessarily talking about God, but it is idolatry. One of the ideas of idolatry is not that you necessarily worship that being, but that you believe there's ultimate significance in that being. In other words, that the Jewish people held far too much significance in Moses, too much significance in the golden calf, and not enough significance, or not enough supreme significance, in the relationship with God himself. So it is a mistake, just as it was a mistake on their part to rely on Moses, one person, or to rely on, a golden calf. It is similarly a mistake on our part to rely on any one thing for that ultimate achievement or closeness, or any kind of superficial, comfort. It can be money, it can be attractiveness, can be certain goals, can be anything. But again, if we do put ultimate significance in any of those things, we are really making the same mistake as the Jews made with the sin of the golden calf. And so that's certainly one of the key lessons that we can learn from this. Another key one is that the Jewish people, what happened was they were on this huge high when they had Mount Sinai, right? Such an incredible, inspirational moment. And then only soon after, they forgot. So we can see here that even in incredible moments such as the revelation on Mount Sinai, that power and inspiration simply cannot last. So for us, our goal should not be to have, that one flash of insight or inspiration, but rather our goal should be that slow and steady growth. It's not as attractive. It's not something that really we can get excited about, slow and steady growth, but still it is something that we need to be going for. Because if we can look at this as any indication, even an incredible one-time inspirational event such as this is not going to last, and it can easily fall apart. And certainly since we didn't have the experience like that, can you only imagine how quickly we can fall from any kind of an inspirational flash? So that's something we need to go for, nose to the grindstone, and really just work to help ourselves grow and really help grow in that sense. And so that's really the key theme of what we're talking about, is that we have to fight against these easy answers, quick solutions, and impatience. The Jewish people didn't know where Moses was; they wanted an answer now. The Jewish people thought that God abandoned them because one thing didn't make sense to them, so they gave up. Right? Again, that's the quick mistake that they made, and that's the mistake that we should all be avoiding. Is that one, we should not look for any quick fixes to anything. That includes, as I said, seeking any kind of an alternative for God, or just as importantly, seeking something now and yesterday, when really we have no right or necessarily to be saying that it had to happen now. So again, the key there is patience. Patience is a virtue, and we have to fight the hesitation and the attractiveness of going for those very easy answers. Okay, so that's Parsha Ki Tisa. Again, sin of the golden calf, big mistake of the Jewish people, wanting something yesterday when they could have waited, and seeking the easy answers and the intermediaries when really that wasn't the answer at all. Okay, best wishes, Shabbat Shalom.